And we are back.
We're back. What's up?
2 weeks in a row. Look at us.
Look at that. We got a little streak going.
Us on St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
And no green to be found. Actually, I have green shoes on.
You know, I would have wore green, but you wanted me to wear the shirt, so I aim to please you, and I am in my shirt.
I'm glad you're wearing a shirt. Couple things that we got for this episode. Trump's latest tax news about this $150,000. A new bill that's being pushed to reintroduce the RTRP.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go over Zapier finally. I know I've been talking about it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So we'll go through that. So the first article, this is on Bankrate. I saw this last week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was towards the end of the week.
Yeah.
From this episode or this article, it says if you make less than $150,000 a year, President Trump wants to abolish your taxes. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said in an interview on CBS. So, initially, thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I like it in theory. Just kind of, there's a lot of open-ended questions on it. What that would look like. It's just basically the initial release of what
there wasn't
proposing. There's not a whole lot of details, but so it makes me think. All right, is it $150,000 for everybody, or does it get changed versus your filing status? Is head of household more, married filing joint more?
I would think it would be like a household
kind of
income, but
I would, yeah.
We can't say either way.
And then, you know, what does that do, especially for those who want to file? Are you still going to be able to file to get your earned income credit, additional child tax credit, other such items like that of your refundable credits? Would it, I don't think it would necessarily do away with self-employed individuals. You know, they're still going to need to file to account for the self-employment tax.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it kind of talks about it in there. So it's, I would assume it's just no longer if you're under $150,000 needing to withhold federally, but your Social Security and Medicare,
Sure,
those taxes would still be coming out of your paychecks each week. So it's interesting. We'll see what if that.
Because I did a little Google here, and according to Google, this is their AI response. It's roughly 30% of Americans make under $150,000 in the household. Is that what you're reading there?
Yeah, basically. So it looks like only 9.5% is between 150 to 199,999, and then 14% over 200,000. Mm-hmm. So the vast majority of taxpayers would fall into the under $150,000 category.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, like we said, it wouldn't kind of get rid of the taxes. There's a lot of other things that would go into that. If you want to do your credits,
mm-hmm.
What's that look like? Self-employment, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it's all kind of, depends on how they structure it if it ever gets passed. But it's definitely him coming off of getting away from eliminating the IRS or filing in general. So it would be interesting to see. I don't expect this would probably happen very quickly, but it might, progress into something different over the few years. It's like, him first saying, do away with the IRS and taxes, and then now coming to 150,000. I assume it's going to kind of work like a standard deduction would. Mm-hmm. If you make under that, probably no filing requirement or some sort of filing requirement just to report under that.
Yeah.
So
right now it's just headline.
Yeah.
Very interesting headline.
Yeah. I would be for it. But then also too, kind of thinking, all right, so if you're over the 150,000, what do they do as far as the tax bracket goes? Are they going to reduce or increase?
Yeah, restructure everything
at
that point. It just starts at 2%. All right. I think that's enough on that. Yeah. We can go to this new bill. I'm just going to read off. This is an Accounting Today article. Let me look here. anyways, this kind of introducing the RTRP that we saw back in, I think it was 2011.
I think that was right. Somewhere in there.
Where if you're a paid tax preparer, you were required to take an exam, and you had to pay for that exam. I want to say I had the facts. Like, these are some archive facts from the IRS. Yeah, it was $116 for this test. They said it takes like 2.5 hours, 120 questions. So this bill, I don't know if it's going to be like the exact same thing as the RTRP.
Yeah.
But it's being pushed by this Steve Cohen from Tennessee. So these are very common. They're always coming up.
I think they've talked about
And
bringing this back before, but
they haven't passed any of them. I think there's been like 3 or 4 versions that have come out in the past, and they all hit a wall at some point. But just regulating tax preparation overall, I mean, I see there's some good and bad with it. I mean, there's always the preparers that are just gonna fraud. Fraudsters are gonna fraud.
Yeah.
But does this even stop that at that point?
I mean,
it should reduce.
I don't think it's going to completely eliminate fraud. Like you said, I mean, a lot of that might be coming out of the camp of the people that actually do know what they're doing. But to this end, I'm generally kind of for having some sort of barrier to entry. It doesn't need to be necessarily something that's impossible to pass, but I think it'd be a good idea to have some sort of test and require more continuing education just to keep preparers up on what's going on. And, some of the ones that are preparing that could use benefit from some sort of continuing education or taking some exams to give them a little bit more knowledge on what they're doing versus how it is now, generally speaking, no barrier to entry into other than getting a P10. There's no sort of education requirements in order to prepare taxes. So I think it'd be good just to, at least base level information getting out there.
Yeah, I think establishing a baseline isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
Maybe even incorporate it in the P10 application process itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be something like too extensive of knowledge that you would need to get this thing passed. I mean, you just need to know, like we're saying, just the base items.
Right. I mean, like this one or what it was, like a 2.5 hour exam, that might be a little bit more on the extreme end. But, some sort of kind of test like it was, some version of that, I think would be a good idea. I don't necessarily see this is going to happen. It has been, I think, been talked about trying to bring it back, every so often they have some sort of thing like this they want to bring back. Hasn't got to that point yet.
Right. Yeah, because it was only if you did not have like these credentials here.
Right.
If you weren't a CPA or an enrolled agent, attorney. So if you didn't have those credentials, then you were required basically to complete this.
Yeah, and I think it got pushed back before. People, what was it? Some sort of lawsuit to get the RTRP off the table.
They launched it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, they took it to court and nixed it.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see something like that coming down the line. I don't necessarily think it will be like it was, or just some version of it. Even if it's just, if you're going to have a P10, you've got to get X amount of hours in continuing education.
Sure.
If it's something like that, I think that would be easy for everybody to do. And
I think that's agreeable.
Yeah. I don't think anyone could be, if it's just like 5-10 hours of continuing education, that's not really that much. The IRS puts on free ones every so often as far as webinars go. So something like that would be, I think, easily attainable and shouldn't get that much pushback, but we'll obviously have to see what they, if this goes through, what kind of version of it we'll see, if it'll be like the way the RTRP was, or if it'll be some kind of...
For me, I'm like, this is bad timing on this. Like, there's a lot going on right now.
Too.
And they're trying to push this thing through.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be like, we got other problems.
That might
we
get
got other things
shelved
to
for a
do.
little while.
Yeah. But yeah, I just saw that come up and noticed they were trying to push that through again.
Mm-hmm.
Anything more on that?
No, I think we got it covered pretty well. But I mean, it's interesting. I'd kind of like to see it come in some version of that.
I think the continuing education could be the resolution there.
Yeah, just some kind of baseline just to keep up with different changes and maybe gains a little bit more experience. They're obviously the people that are going to prepare returns incorrectly, they are going to continue to do that.
Right.
Regardless. But this might help some newer people in the preparer industry that, could benefit from a little bit more knowledge of how the process works and what credits go here and what you can and can't do. So, yeah, I'd like to see it. I'm for it.
I agree. All right, moving on. Zapier. So this year we've introduced a new integration with the software, with Zapier. And if you're not familiar with Zapier, you can check it out at zapier.com. You can get a free account, just sign up with an email, and you should be good to go. Basically what Zapier does is can take basically, they have like thousands of apps that you can integrate with. So as long as you have an integration built with Zapier, you can connect it and then connect it to something else. And based off of triggers, you can push actions to either app.
Right.
So what we've built is basically an integration with Zapier that we can push information to other apps. And in the future, I think we're looking to get the apps be able to push back to us. But right now, it's just us going out that way.
Right.
So let me look here. All right, so we're going to jump in here. I have my test environment for our desktop product. I just have a test return in here. And the first thing I want to do is let me go add. There's some money on the invoice here. And then, so let's go into Zapier. And what we can do is just go create a Zap. And I'm not really going to authenticate our trigger, which is going to be CrossLink. You can go in here, hit trigger, and go to CrossLink, and select that. And it will require you to authenticate the account. I do already have it set up. The API is available to all users, I think in their wallet details. So you can go find that, but it's just an API key you throw in there with your user ID. So what we can do is right now on this, the triggers that we have are payment processed, remote signature request, returns filed, return printed, return saved, and return status changed. So those are all the triggers that you can build Zaps off of. From this will be like those triggers happen, then we push the action to the other apps. It doesn't work in the reverse. In the future, we will have that integration built. But for right now, everything is coming from the software going out. So we're just going to do the payment process. And I want to go ahead and test this trigger. So you want to test everything before you actually launch it. And this will just submit some, it's basically test data. So now it wants me to choose the app that I want to push this trigger to. And we can do a lot of different apps. There's a lot of them available, thousands of apps that Zapier supports. We're just going to use Gmail. And in this case, I have my test Gmail. But if you didn't have one, you just go in there and authenticate your Gmail account like you do on normal sites. And then the actions are all provided by Gmail. And so you can go in here, select what kind of action you want to create, and we're just going to send the email. And we'll go to continue, where it's going to allow us to set up some customization for our email. And I think I'm just going to use my test email. You can choose to copy someone on it. the actual email that it's coming from. In here, you can, on the 2, you can either, for this demo, I'm just selecting this, but you can pick the return from the email from the return in here. And the way you do that is you would hit the backslash, and it'll give you the parameters that you can select from the actual return. This is the data that we're choosing to push down. So you can do that. So in this body, I can, directly call them by the name, and we're just going to say, thanks for the payment. Obviously, you can put whatever you want in there. I think I skipped the subject. This is thanks for the payment. All right, and you can set a reply to if you wanted. You can actually set your signature. You can set up what inbox you want it to go to, and that. So it's going to let us test it. Now that we've tested, everything's working properly, and now we can publish. So it just takes a second. As you can see, it didn't take me long to build that Zap. And I didn't, you don't really need a lot of education to figure that part out. It's pretty simple. Zapier has a lot of resources that you can use, and we recommend using a Zapier expert. I think you can find them at zapier.com/expert to build these apps for your business. So now let's go back into our software. And now I want to record the payment. So right now I think I have $100 on there. Let's go ahead and record the payment. We'll save that. And we'll just go ahead and save. And then let me go back into my email account. And we should have gotten the email. So this is actually the test that we built. So let's see, we're calling out Louis. And thanks for the payment. You got the subject, got the email from, everything that we've built in Zapier in our details here came through like we should. So pretty simple, pretty easy to use. There's endless opportunities to build Zaps that fit your business. It doesn't have to be the Gmail, doesn't have to be the payment. We have plenty of triggers that you can link up to the processes that happen in your account. And that's kind of what we wanted to do, was try to automate your business to make it faster so that you can make more money quicker. So yeah, that's the pretty good tool that we have this year, and going forward, it's going to be great as we continue to build on it.
Seems like a few easy clicks, and it's easy to get set up, but it also can save you, if that's part of a process that you want to implement into your structure as far as sending emails out after receiving payments, or when the return comes in or it is acknowledged, instead of having to manually do it, a few clicks and it automatically goes. So
yeah.
It's a good time saver.
Yeah. And you notice it don't have to transmit it. You don't have to connect it. It just does it. Once you enter it, payment, boom, it's gone. And it's only one of the triggers that we use. Return statuses get changed. You can build off that if you want to update your CRM, or if you want to update your books.
Right.
You can do that as well.
It doesn't just have to be Google or Gmail.
Right.
It could be
any of the apps that they have.
Flows into, I'm sure, Excel probably, or different other features.
I want to say they have all the most popular one that everyone uses, but there's 7,000 apps in there.
Yeah.
There's so many apps you can't even use them. So I'm sure whatever app your business is running on and uses for those little side tasks, you can find it in Zapier.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And there's no cost. So
yeah, it's definitely a neat feature that's been implemented. So
yeah, I think in Zapier has restrictions, you can only use a certain amount of Zaps. You can't build 30 for free.
Right.
There's a package, right?
Gotcha.
I think you get 5 Zaps or something like that.
Yeah.
Just want to show that we could finally get it up and running in here. That's a really good tool for all these preparers out there.
Definitely.
All right, man.
All right.
I don't have too much to talk about left. In-house items, I'm just trying to think. I think we're just getting ready for shows.
Yeah.
I mean, even with these so-called IRS cuts with employees and stuff like that, I think they're still doing IRS shows.
Seems to be the plan.
Which is great. We'll be at all those. We got a lot of other ones that we're going to, so there's a lot of preparation going in.
Yeah.
As far as the software goes, we're still firing, and everything's good on that end.
Yeah. Season's nearing the end, but just once it ends, it begins again, getting process of prep for the next season. So.
Yeah, because I think the business returns were due, but so now we're pushing to the end where you're getting everyone that's procrastinating.
Yeah, the holdouts start seeing more
and then
balance due returns now,
and you get the extensions. And,
yeah,
and yeah. So we're almost to April.
One more month.
It's coming.
We're there.
All right, man. Well, thanks for jumping on.
Thanks.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.